Hello and welcome, or welcome back to my channel. I am MJ James, a non-binary autistic writer of science fiction and fantasy, and today is my publishing anniversary. Actually, it was back at the end of May, but it took me a little bit to get this video filmed, so we're a few days late. Every year I like to come here and talk a little bit about the year prior, as well as what I have learned about writing and my writing journey during this year. And honestly, I cannot believe that my book baby, In Between, was published just 3 years ago. It seems like so much time has passed, and yet no time has passed at all. I had to redo the math because it just seems so much longer. So much has changed in these last 3 years since In Between was officially published. This time last year, I was packing up my house and getting ready for a cross-country move. It has been 10 months since we have moved to Colorado from California. And during this last year, I also published the first 4 books in my Embertown series. That includes Lucas, Phoenix, Burke, and Micah. My 4 new book babies. That is also my first series that I have ever done. I now have a total of 7 books published. Somehow I thought having 7 books published was going to be some magic number, and I guess in some sense it has been, but in other ways it's just a number. Nothing magical happened once I hit 7. I do think that it's cool, especially having people come up to me in person and say that they have not only seen Lucas, but they've finished it. So there has been increased visibility the more that I have published, but it hasn't changed my desire to write more. It hasn't changed the stories that I still have inside me to tell. Well, what have I learned this year? Well, I've learned a lot about collaboration. So for collaborations, I've really focused on growing my connections, and this includes both in person as well as online. I have joined group promotions with other authors. I have started doing in-person book booths, and I have grown my newsletter. So people cannot read your books if they don't know you exist. So getting yourself out there, connecting with other authors, other readers are extremely important. And I really like making these anniversary videos because it really helps me to really look back at the progress that I did over this last year, and instead of always just continually focusing on where I want to go and the things I need to do to get there. It's a second for me to kind of pause and find joy in the journey. So these collaboration projects, such as Stuff Your E-Reader events and in-person vending events, have connected me to a lot of amazing readers, as well as other amazing writers. I have really found a community, which honestly, as a very autistic person that has a lot of difficulty socializing, I just never thought I was going to be able to do this and reach this point. And this community is so much larger than what I had last year. And I'm just really, really extremely grateful for that. And I know part of that is just reaching out and connecting, and part of that is the decision that I made to move to a new place where, for me personally, it was just a better fit. So another thing I've really focused on and learned about this year is independence. So with everything that's going on, specifically in the US, but in the world in general, I've learned not to rely on major platforms for my message and for outreach. I've been on Instagram for years, like a lot of years, and it currently has my biggest audience. And while I am not leaving Instagram, Instagram itself is changing, and I know that I cannot depend on it specifically or social media in general, or even specific sellers such as the Zon, or even other emerging platforms such as Kobo or book hosting platforms, because so much legislation could get passed and could just change anything at any point in time. And so this is another major reason why I have started to really focus on my newsletter. It's a way to connect directly with my readers and my audience so that I can communicate out what I want to and need to directly without having to worry about the algorithms. And if you haven't signed up for my newsletter, there is a link down in the description below. I would love for you to do so. You also will get a free short story of mine when you do sign up. And then you'll also be notified of any special events or just like the newest happenings in my world, such as my newsletter subscribers got the cover reveal for my next novel before everyone else was able to see that. And if you are an author, then I highly recommend that you start building your own newsletter. And growing it, even starting out small and just having a platform to reach your readers directly, is extremely important. And I know I balked at it for so long because I didn't really understand the importance of it. But having started on building that path, I can tell you it is extremely important to have your own newsletters. Specifically because it is a direct connection to your readers. And if you want to know what I send out, it's a good idea to, follow other authors, see how other people are sending out their newsletters, not to copy it or anything, because you want to make sure to have your own voice in your newsletter, but it's a way of just seeing what other people are presenting and also stay in touch with other writers within your community. So in addition, I have also switched over my website. So I've actually done this twice. I moved from WordPress to a temporary site, BookBub, which I knew was not a long-term solution. It was just a place to host my website until I figured out what I wanted to do. And I recently have started focusing on direct sales. So this is something moving forward in this next year I really want to build up and focus on. Right now, I only have ebooks on my site, but that will be expanding to audiobooks and then also to being able to ship my books directly, which will allow me to send them to readers signed, as well as with additional swag and such with them that you just can't get that personal touch ordering through a book platform. But also it allows me to keep the prices relatively consistent because, as you know, there's been so many changes in everything. Amazon making sure that we bump up prices and just changing in printing costs continually. It's a way to help make my book prices stay more consistent. Now, there's still going to be impacts and such because I do have to send them out to a printer. So as those prices change when I get new batches in, I still may have to make pricing adjustments, but it's a way of trying to make them more stable with the instability that is currently happening around us. So another thing that I really took away from this year is learning not to take writing advice literally. Now, I have made several videos on how writing advice doesn't necessarily work for neurodiverse authors, but for me specifically, one of the things that I have learned this year is there's a very common writing advice that is to keep writing books. That's the best way to market yourself. And while I agree with this, that it is an important piece of writing, of building who you are as an author and connecting with your readers, my autistic brain took this to mean that I should never stop writing. And I mean, pretty much never. It was a lot to get 4 books out this year, which was the maximum amount that I knew I could do if I wrote all the time. However, this year I realized that I can't keep writing at this pace. It limits me from other projects such as short stories or focusing on YouTube. It also makes me a lot more rushed when I'm actually producing books. And I am very happy with the quality of the work that I am producing. I'm not, like, I would never put out anything that I wasn't proud of. It's also puts a lot of pressure and expectation on myself, a huge obligation to pay for the process of creating these books. So I realized that when people say keep pushing out books, they don't mean to yourself in the process to do that, to actually make realistic expectations. And while that's going to change based upon the author, reality is that no one actually expected me to do this. I just took this advice very literally, and I forgot that when neurotypicals say things, they don't realize that how neurodiverse brains might interpret that, and they expect it to be kind of more motivational than expecting. And I take that as very literal and put a lot of pressure on myself. So I will keep writing at a decent pace, but not nearly as fast as I have done over this last publishing year. As I said, I also want to go back to writing short stories, maybe some novellas that are connecting to some of my earlier books, such as In Between, The Immortal Part of Myself specifically, maybe Neurodiverse, but mostly the first two. I have ideas that is kind of like brewing in my head that I would like to write. And I just want to have fun and explore while also representing my communities within my books. So I do already have next year very loosely mapped out, and I am very excited for it as well, but it will not be nearly as overwhelming as this last year has been, hopefully, at least. So another thing that I have really learned about this year is perseverance. So this publishing year has been hard in many ways. So many people do not seem to understand or care about the attacks that are happening on the trans community. And to continually have my identity be invalidated by an executive order on day one of the current presidential administration was kind of a sucker punch, and the punches have kind of kept coming. And I do want to say that I fully acknowledge that I do have the white privilege that is backing this as well, and know that I am safer just because of the color of my skin. So to put a call out there to specifically support Black and other BIPOC trans individuals during this time, because being trans is it's dangerous at this point. We are losing legal rights, but to be austerly racially profiled while being trans is especially dangerous, and just to make sure to protect the community at a large. So in addition to all the attacks on transness, there's also a lot of attacks on neurodiverseness, specifically autism population. If you have read my book, Neurodiverse, you will know that RFK Jr.'s attacks on the autism community wasn't really surprising to me. Hurtful, yes, but unfortunately not surprising. It's still gross, and it's still extremely dangerous. And I am, again, an extremely privileged member of several underprivileged communities. And I'm really trying to show up by telling our stories and amplifying other individuals' voices as well, and financially supporting when I am able to. If you are able to, I highly recommend donating to mutual aids when you have the availability. I also have made the decision to regularly vote for ACLU because I know they're legally fighting for a lot of rights right now and are being pushed at so many different areas. And this is not to say that if you are, I mean, not everyone is in a position to be able to do so, which is why I am trying to do what I can when I can. But ultimately, like probably a lot of you, I'm tired. But that's what they want. So I know that I have to keep going. I have to keep doing the work that I started, and part of that is I started writing my new sci-fi book, Inside a Dark Space, before a lot of the changes that has happened with the current administration. And as I've been working on edits for this book, it really saddened me to see how much of what I put into this fiction book has already started coming true, and where we are headed, and how we as a community and as a nation could be doing so much better. But also, during this hard time, I've also seen a lot more light than I thought as well. When I started writing Inside a Dark Space, I had kind of given up hope. I would like to feel that even while my novels are on the darker side, there has always been an element of hope to them. And when I started working on Inside a Dark Space, that hope was gone. And I think as part of the few, like, as the few months have gone on, very, very long months, I have started to see a little bit more of that hope come back, and I feel like that has earned its way back into the novel as well, because I do have a lot of faith in our communities. That being said, the tagline for Inside a Dark Space is never let the Effers win. Effers, of course, being spelled out when not censored, and that is kind of a motto I'm trying to adopt moving forward as well. So we've got this. Don't let the Effers win. So that is what has been happening for the last year. So now let's talk about where I want to go from here. So I currently have 2 pre-orders up. One is for Inside a Dark Space, which is a sci-fi book and the first book in the Lunar Abyss series. It will release on September 1st of 2025. And then I also have book 5 of the Ember Town series, which is Lenin, which is going to release on December 1st, 2025. Also, this next writing year, I plan to start working on a box set of the Ember Town books. There will probably be several box sets because it is an ongoing series, but I want to start working on the first one. I really want to make a hardcover of the first several books within the Ember Town series. Unfortunately, tariffs have me questioning that plan now, but it's something I would really love to do, so we will see while I keep researching that. I also will be working on either finishing the Lunar Abyss series or keep working on it. I'm not entirely sure how many books is going to be in it yet, but it will be ending either as a duology or a trilogy. I'm just not quite sure yet which one. And then this right now is, writing-wise, my main focus for the next year. After that, I'm honestly not sure. I could start something new, or I could go back and revisit some of my earlier works, creating some novellas for them, creating more details into that world. I do think that there's still some things left to be told in, especially in between, but potentially the immortal part of myself as well. And I would really love to know what you would like to see. If you want to put it in the comments down below, that will just help me to figure out how to move forward. Also, I know I really have been neglecting my YouTube channel, which is just partly because I have put such other expectations on myself. And this year I do plan on focusing in more on writing specific videos for neurodiverse and non-binary and queer characters, specific reps, specific tools to help other writers. And I've there are a selection already out on my channel that I would hope you go look at, and I want to keep producing more of those because I do think it's important for our voices to be heard, and that for if people are going to write rep that is outside of their own identity, that they have resources to kind of help them through that as well. So if you have any questions, or if there's anything specifically you would like to see, let me know down below. My goal is to do a video every 2 weeks. That seems like it will probably be more manageable, but given everything, I'm not going to solidify that into a promise because I was hoping for every week and it just didn't quite work out with everything else that's going on right now. So we will see. But I do want to keep going with my YouTube channel. I love interacting with you all. I love putting out videos with you all. I have increased productivity sprints to twice a week because I'm able to sustain that. It helps me with my writing and it allows me to connect with you all, which I absolutely love. And so thank you if you are able to join me. Right now, they're currently on Mondays and Fridays. I schedule them about a month ahead of time at the beginning of each month. So you can go and hit the notification to get reminded of when they are. And if you aren't able to join at the times, you can always go back and watch them after the fact. I do check my comments. So I do try and reply to most comments. If they are a little bit impactful, I may not. I'm still very autistic. So ultimately, thank you everyone for being with me on this journey, for reading my book, for watching this video. I appreciate all the support you have given me over this year, and I hope to be able to be a resource for you moving forward, but also to have more books for you to read and more representation so that you can see yourself within the pages of books, because that ultimately is what I am trying to do. And if there's any ideas or suggestions that you'd like to see, please again feel free to put them in the comments down below. Here is to many more years and many more books. And as always, keep writing, keep reading, and keep dreaming. Until next time.